kind of early on, we knew that the environment mattered everywhere. E&E's about solving environmental problems, coming up with better solutions, having development go forward in concert with environmental sustainability and environmental quality.
40 years ago, 4 friends, while working at Cornell Laboratories, decided to start a business. 40 years and 45,000 projects in 84 countries later, Ecology and Environment Incorporated is the company the world turns to for solutions. From the Alaskan pipeline to green building and alternative energy, and from the Love Canal cleanup of the 70s to the tragedy of 9/11, E&E was there. Now with 1,000 employees representing more than 80 environmental disciplines across the U.S. and around the globe, the vision of the founding 4 all started with a president's pen stroke.
Earth Day demonstrations began in practically every city and town in the United States this morning, the first massive nationwide protest against the pollution of the environment.
April 13th, 1970 was when E&E was formed, and April 22nd, 1970 was the first Earth Day.
President Nixon signed the National Environmental Policy Act about that time.
We did know that there was a lot of environmental movement. You had everybody that was upset with the war.
There was also at that same time an Air Pollution Act and a new Water Pollution Act.
We saw the environmental issues being raised, and we were looking at it using applied science.
Said if you want to try to solve the problems we have on the Earth, they're so complex that what we'd have to have is a team of almost all scientific disciplines.
I mean, we were 4 guys. We all had families, children, mortgages, and pretty nice jobs, fairly well paying, and give all that up and go out and take a gamble like that. I think that was the primary challenge. It was a great incentive to work hard.
We were working on a nuclear power plant to be constructed on Cayuga Lake, and we saw the issues that were associated with that. The company was doing scientific studies to, I guess, justify the construction there, but at the same time they were pouring concrete for the foundations for the power plant. Our thinking was there had to be a better way of doing the process.
It was the challenge of entrepreneurship to put something together that made a lot of sense and could make money.
We thought it'd be a business of the future.
There wasn't much to look at, and the oil is flowing the 800-mile route more slowly than a person can walk.
That
but the pipeline
sort of put us on the map.
Oh, it gave us a name, yes, it sure did. The pipeline at that time, I think it was one of the biggest private projects in the world.
And everybody knew that it was something that was very important to the U.S., and it was a very complicated project.
Our relationships with Tenneco, they'd grown tremendously. And that led us to having the expertise that made us the right kind of company for working on the Alaskan pipeline.
Congress had passed a whole series of stipulations, environmental stipulations for the pipeline that needed to be enforced in the field. They needed the environment, and we were the environment.
Their estimate of the oil companies was $765 million. It wound up at $7 billion. And that was because of the permafrost, the caribou migration, and other things that needed to be addressed that they had not addressed. And we were working at that time for the Department of Interior, and our role was to monitor the construction as it had been approved by Congress.
That project really made us. It gave us a name. We were just a small Buffalo shop. That gave us nationwide, in fact worldwide recognition.
So we've been on a lot of key projects around the world.
They do have the problems. They generally don't have the technology.
Our South American operations are quite big. have operations in China. We're operating in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia area. We worked in Russia, a number of different places, on all sorts of type of projects.
It just keeps coming. And I hope it doesn't stop. I bought the land. I saw that it was vacant, and it had a bunch of old tires thrown on it. I found out that it was owned by M&T Bank. The Dome Stadium was going to be built here. We went to the bank with our information, and we said we'd like to buy 40 acres. And they said, well, you know, the other 40 acres of that land isn't worth anything to us. If you will accept it and take it, we will throw it in for nothing. So that's how we got this 80 acres.
Way back in high school, I wanted to be an architect, and I didn't become one. And Frank Lloyd Wright, I admired his designs and his concepts, and so the architects came up with some preliminary ideas for a building and everything, and none of us were happy. It didn't seem to suit us, and I said, you know, rather sarcastically, you know, if you guys can't come up with a good design, why don't you steal one? You know, get Frank Lloyd Wright.
Their idea of interior gardens were small plants. But once, you know, the ideas came through and we sat and worked with them and maybe had to more or less convince them that the ideas had merit.
It was Gerhardt's wife, and she came up with picking endangered plants and animal species, you know, to put a little soft touch rather, because the building does appear rather institutional.
Back when we first built this building, nobody really understood why we were building a green building or what it even was. And now people come in and they want to go on tours, and it's sort of something cool that we were the oldest building in the world to really be existing LEED Platinum, but also just one of the first green office buildings in the world.
I'm really proud that I think we accomplished, at least in my mind, what we thought we wanted.
We really think that we are working on problems that need to be solved, and so I think that's why people are interested and willing to work here.
We've had a great 40 years. The world now needs more of the services we're providing, and want to be able to provide that and maintain the great quality.
Probably proudest of the people in the company that have stayed with us.
Innovation, a high level of professionalism, and a multidisciplinary team approach have made E&E an economic and environmental problem solver for the world. As growth continues across the planet, new challenges and opportunities are on the horizon. But E&E's original vision remains unchanged. And at the end of the day, the world will be a better place because of ecology and environment.
It'll have to be an entirely different world. I mean, we don't have enough resources for all of us to consume at the rate we are.
The conflicts with trying to maintain environmental quality is going to be the business opportunity that we'll probably be involved in.
We know we need development. We know we can live 30 or 40 years in the past, but we also know we can do it right, and we can do it well.
We went through pipelines, we went through hazardous waste, we're into alternative energy like wind farms and things like that. In the future, I think there's going to be a push toward nuclear, and we will be involved in that.
And it's going to be a real conflict of trying to maintain a decent environment. How do we handle that?
We'll probably be a part of it. That is, E&E, at least I hope they are.
But what's been amazing in really the past 3 or 4 years, that this vision from sort of, you know, on the side, maybe a little radical, it's more important than ever that good environmental solutions for air, water, our land are in place.